All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome. Thank you so much for joining us today for our webinar, Modern Shipping on IBM, How to Extend the Life and Power of Your System. My name is Taylor Puelka, and I head up Alliances and Marketing for Varsity, and I'm going to be your host today. So before we jump in, just a quick note, Q&A. So if you are joining us on LinkedIn Live or if you're joining us on the webinar platform, make sure to find either the question box or the chat, and you can put any of your questions there during the session, and we will get to them towards the end. So without further ado, I want to introduce my panelists here, Charlie and Roberto. So Charlie, you want to kick us off?
Hi, I'm Charlie Hawkins, Director of Sales at Varsity, 22 years at Varsity, 30 years in the multi-carrier shipping software business. Thank you.
Great. And Roberto?
Hi, my name is Roberto Anzaloni. I'm the Senior Director of Operations and Client Relations at Varsity. My background is technical. I have a college degree in computer science, and when I started working for Varsity, I was a programmer and software installer at our client sites. Today, my main responsibilities are managing professional services group and the help desk support. I've been with Varsity for over 20 years already.
Wonderful. Thanks, guys. So let's get into it. As many of you know, the IBM platform is a workhorse. It is reliable, secure, and central to your ERP. But many think complex demands are forcing key logistics functions off your trusted system. So today we are going to challenge that notion. We'll show you how to leverage the IBM's power for all of your modern shipping needs. So why are we talking about this? Let's start with the central challenge that brings everyone here today. It's the IBM paradox. So we all know that the system is unmatched in its stability and security, but why do so many logistics leaders still feel forced to look elsewhere when it comes to shipping? Charlie, what are your thoughts on this perceived paradox?
Great observation, Taylor. There is a paradox. The IBMI, as you point out, is powerful, stable, central, but unfortunately, it's not always perceived as modern. And the green screen situation is not helping the situation. We look forward to speaking about why there's so much wrong with the perception of software that runs on the eye in many cases. There is a way to use it without green screen. There are modern APIs, very, very deep integration to your ERP or WMS, advanced carrier compliance, and real-time data and advanced functionality, just to name a few.
Awesome. Great. So thank you so much, Charlie. But Roberto, let's get a little technical, and everyone bear with us. I'm sure all of you have more technical bones in your body than I do, so I'm sure you'll enjoy this. So let's tell everyone how it can be done, starting with bringing all those complex shipping nodes, parcel, LTL, hazmat, and international into one centralized engine. Go ahead.
Well, I think the main problem with having to integrate with all the various parcel and LTL carriers for different types of shipping, such as hazmat and international, is that each carrier interface has different requirements and complex parameter lists, and they're often based on different integration technologies and methods. So the ideal shipping solution needs to allow for a single consistent shipping and rate shopping API that is based on the same consistent two-way parameter list for all carriers and shipping types, making the ERP integration with the shipping system easy and straightforward, and leaving the integration complexity and details buried deep inside the actual shipping system. So let the shipping system development team figure out and manage all the integration details with the carriers and keep up with the compliance changes, right? With one consistent shipping and rate shopping API, no matter the compliance changes imposed by the carrier, which are often on a quarterly basis or even monthly basis, the ERP to shipping system interface will remain the same or very much the same. Having one consistent shipping and rate shopping API also lowers the learning curve for the programmers involved with the interface development. Basically, once you learn the consistent technology and parameter list, you're ready to make any interface changes independently and fast and efficiently.
Awesome. That's the goal, right? So,
Exactly.
exactly. So let's get into automated rating and carrier compliance. So we've established that the API handles the complexity of all those those modes, but just having an interface clearly isn't enough. So the real power is what happens inside the engine with automated rating and compliance checks. Roberto, can you also talk us through how this works directly on IBMI?
Well, I think the API-based compliance integration with carriers has some advantages, but then the shipper relies on the API response time and internet availability for printing labels and rating. Most importantly, the shipper would rely on the accuracy of the rates returned by the API. Lastly, very likely the API will return uh, the shipping label that needs to be printed with very little or no opportunity to make any customizations, not even minor. So there's a lot of value in having all the various compliance rules and parameters defined within the shipping system in the IBMI. First of all, the carrier compliance is highly configurable and therefore is easy to tailor and customize to the possible specific shipper's requirements, such as custom labels or custom rating rules. Also, the internal control file setup automatically triggers the appropriate interfaces and parameters required for the specific carrier compliance, including any custom logic. So once the setup is done and the interface program is developed, everything happens automatically and in a reliable and consistent manner. In addition, yes, the care compliance data will require some time for the periodic compliance updates, such as the rates, zones, and special charges update, but it will be accurate and reliable, especially in the case of contract-based rate, discounted rates. Since the discounted contract-based rates are configured and tested locally, the shipper has control and is able to reliably calculate the expected carrier charges for prepaid and prepaid not shipments and use those reliable discounted contract rates calculated during the shipping process to check and audit the freight bills later on, instead of relying on a rate that is hopefully correct and hopefully based on the correct contract discounts that are returned by the carrier API. This concept of premises locally defined carrier maintenance versus API-based carrier maintenance and rating integration applies to both parcel and LTL carriers. And any ideal modern shipping solution, such as Varsity on the IBMI, must offer both options for both types of shipping. So in summary, I think the ideal shipping system, such as in the case of Varsity, needs to provide both solutions. API-based compliance integration with the carrier and also locally defined and maintained carrier compliance so that the shipper can decide what's more important for them. A little more complex compliance maintenance for the on-premises solution on the IBMI, but fast and reliable and easily customizable versus API-based carrier compliance integration that would possibly be a little bit less reliable and probably have a slower response time and fewer opportunities for customizations. But the big advantage is that it would require little or no ongoing carrier compliance maintenance. So the shipper can decide what's more important for them if the shipping system offers both options.
Yeah, choice seems to be key. That's what it sounds like.
Exactly.
So thank you so much, Roberto. That was a really good detailed response. So detailed compliance ensures the rate is accurate, but the process isn't necessarily complete until the physical document is generated, right? So let's talk a little bit about output and document management. Roberto, can you share more about how the system manages label generation and that special documentation?
Yes, the shipping labels in Varsity are printed on Zebra printers via IBMI spool files written in ZPL Zebra language. And those pool files are routed to the specific shipping station printer that is configured within the system. Labels in ZPL language printed via the IBM spool files on Zebra printers guarantee maximum throughput and reliability. Special documents such as hazmat label forms, bill of ladings, and also international documents are printed via IBM spool files to laser printers, also configured by shipping station. There's also another option. PDFs can also be generated and printed or stored in the IBM IFS, also emailed if needed.
Wonderful. Thanks, Roberto. So handling all those complex rules from dim weight to contract rates directly on the IBMI seems to be clear. But compliance and centralized control are just one side of the coin. So on the other side is efficiency. And once we have the rules handled, as Roberto noted, Charlie, how do we use that intelligence to reduce costs and speed up our operations and shipping?
Sure, sure, Taylor. There are a couple ways that customers can, get value and cost savings out of the system in this category. And one would be increased throughput or velocity through your warehouse operation. And the other would be through cost savings by picking the right carrier and even putting the right items in the right sized box. So to talk about rate shopping, there's options with both rate shopping upstream and rate shopping downstream. So an example of rate shopping upstream would be getting rates up at order entry. So you can either give a rate quote or make that decision based on customer input live. We could also do that automatically, use business rules, and under certain circumstances or situations, use this carrier, that carrier, even adhere to UCC 128, 856 advanced ship notice customer rules automatically without user intervention. Another example of upstream would be from a website. So, people from a website can pick their carrier and can automatically do this or that, or we can automatically do it up there as well. Oftentimes that it increases efficiency if it's done upstream. It certainly adds a little bit of time to do it downstream. But downstream examples would be from the packing station and the shipping station. So let's talk a little bit about some advanced functionality that also leads to cost savings and efficiency, and that would be some of our advanced packing modules or functionality. So we can actually get the data from our packing from our packing module and manage which items are in which boxes or which boxes are on which pallets. So from that, there's another step where we can actually optimize the shipment. And what does that mean? Optimization means to select the right pieces or boxes, the core pieces of corrugated, to actually most efficiently ship that order. So, this many in this box, that many in that box, all staying underneath the dimensional weight limit, so to speak, for a lower cost shipment. And yeah, so I think that's probably the best summary, so to speak, of that question, Taylor.
Yeah, that sounded great. And I didn't want to interrupt you because you were on a roll, but I will say that I love when a website has the rates right in front of you. Like, I love that. I think that's super great from a consumer point of view, but I totally understand the benefits of downstream rate shopping as well with those actuals. So thank you so much for providing that. Roberto, let's move from getting it right to getting it optimized and kind of extend that discussion on what Charlie left off on. So can you talk us through some of these advanced packing solutions that Charlie mentioned?
Yeah, so let's deep dive a little bit into what Charlie mentioned. So, first of all, Varsity offers a user-driven packing module where the user decides what items to pack in the containers. So you have a list of containers available on which you have to pack. You have a list of items that you can pack from the pick ticket. And the user also decides how to build pallets in case of LTL shipping. So using this method, there is no automatic system cubing or validation to avoid extra surcharges or such as dim weight or large package surcharges. Containers might not be packed efficiently, but the user has full control over packing, which is very important when items of unusual shape or dimensions are packed and when the packing containers are not pre-established. Sometimes packers embed smaller items into bigger items. They stack items, right? So it is a lot up to the user to decide how to build these containers. Again, control is key, even though containers might not be packed efficiently. But sometimes when items are so unusual in shape and weight, or just manufactured, is very difficult to have a system that can put it all together. Varsity also offers an automatic packing module where an optimized packing software algorithm based on known item dimensions and weight and available container types will create the packing structures and containers for the shipment, trying to avoid, like Charlie said, as much as possible dim weight and large package surcharges, for example. By trying to try different packing configurations, different cubing solutions, and is a very complex algorithm. Basically taking the items and moving them around the boxes, trying to find the best, most efficient configuration. The packer will have to follow the packing instructions and suggestions from the automated packing module done upstream instead of making the packing decisions. Thus, we're eliminating human error and inefficient packing because the packer is using the software packing instructions, and you can do that through screens, label printing, form printings. We have various ways of doing in base, or you can just access the data and print the packing configuration, for example, in a packing list. When either packing solution is installed together with the shipping engine, since the individual container content is known, it would be possible to print custom container packing labels like UCC 128 labels or any other custom labels. This is done by interfacing with the TL-Ashford software to allow an easy custom label development. So even the internal shippers development team can develop the label, you don't need to be a highly skilled programmer to use TL-Ashford. Also, EDI information extraction would be available to be interfaced into an EDI translation software of choice for an EDI, ESN, A56 transaction creation. So even though Varsity doesn't create the actual transaction, we can extract the information if you have the packing module, because now we know what's inside the containers and how are the containers put together, for example, in a pallet. Packing within the shipping system is very important because it will make international shipping and hazmat shipping, which are both supported by Varsity, much easier and effortless, since these two types of shipping require item level information that is not otherwise required. So if you have the packing module in Varsity, international shipping and hazmat shipping will be effortless and will just be a consequence or like an easy lead into the international and hazmat shipping rules, basically.
Awesome. Thank you, Roberto. Appreciate that. And thank you, Charlie, for the lead in. Seeing how system can automatically rate shop and even optimize packing to fight against those rising dim weight charges shows like a huge potential for savings. But let's move a little bit further though, and talk about control after the truck leaves the dock. And I think this is such a huge topic right now in the industry. So Charlie, if you could walk us through post-shipment management, and specifically how we close the loop to turn shipping into a profit center rather than a cost drain.
Sure. Thank you. There are a lot of ways to do that, a lot of benefits after the box has left your building. One would be the auditing of those bills that come in, both LTL and parcel. And I think Roberto plans on talking a little bit more about that, but an in-house first cut or auditing function of the shipping system itself, no third parties, is a huge benefit to folks. So I'll let Roberto talk more about that. But the other is our historical data. Because we're on the eye and we're sitting there next to your ERP or WMS, anything that's required to ship a package is all saved in Varsity. And by the way, we manage 2 buckets for costs, what your carrier charge is going to be, and also what you want to charge your customer. But all the data is there. So it's not sitting out there with some carrier somewhere. It's not sitting out there in a third-party cloud that doesn't have access to your ERP and some of your reporting management. So historical data can be managed, reported against in our system, or your own, and that really helps create actionable items and KPIs.
Awesome. Thank you, Charlie.
Sure.
And Roberto, do you want to dive a little bit deeper into that and provide a little bit more technical knowledge?
Yeah, let's deep dive into that and be a little bit more technical and provide a little bit more detail. So I think an ideal modern IBM-based shipping interface should offer options for automatic shipment confirmation in the ERP once the shipment is complete. So since all the shipping data is kept on the IBMI, the two-way interface can return all the shipping information that is available back to the ERP, such as tracking and pro numbers, the final shipping weight, and so on. But most importantly, can return the freight amount and store it in the ERP database. So the interface back to the ERP should also support all custom logic that is necessary to ship confirm the order, so that the order will move to a ready-to-invoice status for accurate billing. The consistent two-way interface parameter structure that we discussed at the very beginning will make the ship confirm interface back to the ERP very easy to program. I'm a technical guy. I'm always thinking about the programmers, right, and the job they have to do. So this is because all the shipping results, no matter the carrier or the shipping type, are returned consistently by the shipping API in the same return parameters. And this is what makes it easy. Also, another advantage of having the data stored in the IBMI is audit freight bills, like Charlie mentioned. So Varsity offers automated freight bill audit for both LTL and parcel carriers. In particular, we're very good with UPS and FedEx bills. Electronic freight invoices can be downloaded to the IBMI and an IFS drive on the PC when available on the carrier website. Then the user will set up dynamic audit rules and variance rules, and will always define how to treat. Will also define how to treat the invoice based on the audit results. So thanks to this system, there will be no more user-driven manual audit where paper invoices are visually compared to expected calculated freight amounts. That's crazy, right? Most importantly, the audit will be automated and owned and performed by the shipper with no need to pay the high cost for audits performed by outside companies like Charlie mentioned. Um, the audit process compares invoice freight amounts against expected contract-based charges that were calculated at shipment time, and that they were kept in the manifest database until the invoice is received and the audit is executed. The user will go through exception handling. The user will review and approve or partially approve the exceptions or reject them. And then an optional AP interface can also be built so that the approved payments can automatically flow to the accounts payable system. And another observation that I want to make is that it's very important to have a system that detects freight discrepancies, not only because of the obvious financial repercussions of being billed incorrectly by the carrier, but also because a freight discrepancy can be the symptom of a system technical issue or operational and user issue that reflects on the incorrect shipment processing that will then be detected by the carrier when package weights and dimensions are audited at the carrier hub, thus creating the discrepancy between the freight being billed and what the shipper was expecting. In other words, the Varsity Audit module can also resolve or help resolve technical and operational issues that are discovered thanks to the discrepancy in freight.
Thank you, Roberto. That was like super in depth and awesome. So I really appreciate your input. All right, so let's go to advanced system solutions and customization. So this I think is really, really interesting. We've covered the core foundation of compliance, optimization, and audit, but what about the complex custom needs of a modern warehouse, as well as cloud and cross-platform integration? Say that 5 times fast. Roberto, this is 100% your domain, so I'm just going to continue with you if you don't mind. Let's talk about how leading shipping solutions like Varsity Logistics integrates these systems into custom workflows and future-proofs the entire operation.
Yes, the Varsity professional services engineers have implemented very interesting advanced custom solutions in the field. I can talk about it for hours, but I won't. So I'm going to give you a few examples. So we have done pick-to-label solutions, especially based on the ship optimizer functionality that we discussed. We have done several batch shipment processing solutions where the order information is uploaded to Varsity on the IBM, for example, via spreadsheets, and then all the shipments are generated in batch and invisibly, automatically creating the manifest information, the labels, and all the necessary shipment documents without any user intervention. We have implemented custom drop shipping and zone skipping solutions to optimize shipping and reduce the freight costs. And another example, very common, is that many of our customers also request custom shipping labels. This is 90% of our customers. And they often require a 4x8 label instead of a 4x6 with a logo printed on it or special barcodes for internal warehouse routing when customers run automated conveyor systems. So the 4x6 compliance label is usually very busy and very complex, so we have to extend it by at least 2 inches. So instead of printing the 4x6, we print the 4x8. All the 4x6 compliance would be at the top, and then, for example, at the bottom, we can print the logo or on the top, and then we can print the barcodes for internal warehouse routing. So these are examples, but like I said, I can talk for a long time about this stuff.
Well, I might make you talk a little bit more. So the examples that you gave really show how adaptable the Varsity platform is, and how skilled everyone is that works there. But there's often times that Varsity needs to integrate with physical devices on the warehouse floor. So Roberto, if you could share some of the most common examples and powerful types of custom work Varsity's done with that would be great.
Yes, we have implemented automated warehouse interfaces with devices such as weighting motion systems, Cubiscan, print and apply systems, and much more. We also integrate with all kind of scales by automatically retrieving the weight and importing it into the Varsity system without any user trigger scan or any type of intervention to get the weight. So they don't have to press buttons, scan anything. There's no other intervention other than placing the package on the scale. That will trigger the weight to go directly into Varsity. For cloud-based ERP systems, where we also have engineered cross-platform interfaces and integrations that have been very successful, I must say, always following the same model of a two-way interface that not only maps the order information from the ERP to Varsity for shipping and rate shopping, but also that ship confirms the orders in the ERP on other platforms. The same way we do on the IBMI, we can do it on cross-platform ERPs.
Excellent wrap up. Love that. So thank you guys for such a comprehensive look at modernizing shipping on IBMI. Just a quick reminder to the audience that we're almost to Q&A, so you can still submit those questions through the webinar platform, Q&A section, or in chat on LinkedIn Live. So quickly, before we get to that and final advice and everything, to quickly recap our key takeaways today, we've talked about three main points, really: centralization, control, and longevity. So I think everything that Charlie and Roberto have explained thus far has been really, really beneficial. So hopefully the audience thinks it as well. But let's kind of go a little bit more towards wrap up and hear from each speaker. So Charlie, if there was one thing you would want to leave our audience with, what would it be?
You really think I'm going to leave it with just one thing, Taylor? Nice try.
We are a little bit ahead of time, so if you
the-
want like 1 to 3
Yeah.
things, that's
So
fine.
here are my 15 things. No. So really I want to make a statement first that the shipping costs have never ever been so high. Much like we're getting gouged in other parts of our lives, personally, the cost of shipping has gone up so much in the last 10 years. So maybe 10 years ago, it didn't necessitate really being very good and efficient in shipping. It does now. Okay, you've most people have fixed other issues with their ERP and WMS, and God forbid now some AI. But my suggestion would be people really need to take a look at their shipping. The whole "it's not broken, don't fix it" thing, in my opinion, is out the window. You've heard today so many things that really will allow you to save more money in shipping. Okay. So one of the byproducts, or one of the primary themes, in my opinion, is the deep integration to your ERP or WMS. You heard about our packing and our shipping and our optimization and managing 2 buckets of cost and all that. That's achieved best when we're going back and forth with the ERP multiple times in different departments, different things. And so we offer that, and there's ability to do that on the eye. If I were to go through the Infors and, Oracle, Edwards, and all we have turnkey interfaces to all those things. So we're not reinventing the wheel. It's not necessarily a huge professional services project, but I guess if you're pigeonholing me into one thing, on the eye, okay, and a very deep integration, Taylor, to their ERP or WMS makes these savings happen much, much easier. A single API call to another system and just getting it out the door, it's not much better than the carrier provided systems and how they do it. So that's my advice.
Beautifully said. Perfect amount. Thank you, Charlie. All right, Roberto, what about you? What final advice do you want to leave with the audience today?
Yeah, my final thoughts. So one very important things for me being having a programming background, and to me, reliability, processing speed is very important. and efficiency. So to me, it's always been very big the concept of a two-way interface where, you know, Varsity on the IBMI, any shipping system on the IBMI with an ERP on the IBMI, having the ship confirm, the automated ship confirm. So I've walked into customers that were doing it manually. They had to, at the end of the day, download information from carrier providers, shipping systems, or shipping systems that were not efficient, and having to update their ERP. That is a very hard process. So the automated interface, a two-way interface that does the automatic ship confirm, to me is very important. So that's the style, that's the concept, that's the architecture that we use in Varsity to right after you've complete a shipment, we go back to the ERP. Obviously, those pieces are those interfaces and those pieces of programming, they are custom because each ERP requires custom processes to do the ship confirm. And that's very important though, because once you have completed the shipment, everything is moved up to ready to invoice status. All the information is brought back. There's no human error involved. If the interface encounters an issue, it will prompt for an error during the ship confirm process. So again, the two-way interface to me is very important, and the ship confirm. So if I need to end this conversation with one statement, I would say that the reliability and processing speed of the IBMI system is reflected on the Varsity packing and shipping system, making it essentially the perfect synergy for a very successful and flexible implementation that will last for many years. And we have seen that with our customers. So I can, I can confirm that.
Thank you, Roberto. Um, I clearly don't have as much background in IBMI and these solutions as these two panelists. They're very, very skilled and knowledgeable. But if I were to leave you guys with something, I would just say try to find a solution that's very holistic, that can handle multiple of these things. So the rating, the shipment execution, the cartonization piece is huge. The optimization, that's the optimization piece that Charlie and Roberto touched on today. So, and audit, there's just so many different things that are involved in shipping. And if you can find a solution that is capable to handle all of these for you so you don't have to, I feel like that is so key. So that's just something I would leave you with. But we are nearing the end, so I do want to get to our Q&A portion of the session, and we've had some really good questions come in. So let me go to the first one here that is in the comment box. So I think this one is for you, Roberto. When you say rate shopping, is that happening in real time, or does it slow down the packing line?
Well, when we're talking about rate shopping, we need to distinguish, right? And Charlie talked about it a little bit in the beginning. Are we doing it upstream near order entry, or are we doing it downstream near, after the packing, right before shipping? So upstream near order entry, especially with Ship Optimizer, it will not slow down packing because it's done before packing at customer service level, at order entry, or web cart checkout, right, time. But even when rate shopping is done right after packing, thanks to the IBMI processing light speed, and rate shopping would be fast and reliable. It will be executed when all is packed and right before the first container is shipped. Again, we're leveraging on the speed of the IBMI and the Varsity rating system architecture that makes the process efficient and fast. Again, you have one point of entry into rate shopping. The interface is very easy. You don't have to do different interfaces depending on what rate you need for what carrier. You just do one program call. Varsity internally decides what to do, and it will return either the best carrier or a list of carriers. And that is done within the IBMI very fast. So if you do it upstream, it might be a little bit more complex because you're taking an order, so you don't really have the packing information yet. But if you have Ship Optimizer, that can figure it out. But again, even if that takes a little bit more time, it will not slow down packing and shipping because it's done all the way upstream, and the final carrier and service type that is selected is kept in the order system, and that will be used as shipping. And again, a shipping time, everything becomes easy because the packing is done and you already have the shipping information, the package information. So there's less logic involved, and therefore the process will be faster. I hope I answered the question.
I think that was perfect. Thank you. Let's see the next one. Why is it better to keep all that EOD and tracking history on the IBMI instead of letting the carrier keep it? You want to take that one too, Roberto?
Yes. All right. First of all, it helps customer service with providing shipment information to customers calling in or emailing in for tracking purposes. And you can do that directly from the ERP, since the ERP can be integrated with the Varsity database for inquiry and tracking purposes. Then you will also have the ability to audit freight bills, either through the Varsity audit module that we discuss, or even manual audit. Since the information is in the system, freight bills can be easily audited, right? So that is a big advantage. Last but not least, and this is probably the first thing that I should have talked about, but I would say last but not least, shipment data analysis that is available on the IBMI, that the data that is available on the IBMI will help the shipper negotiate new and better contracts with carriers by looking at the shipping volume analysis, which is based on the zone data and geographical information. So, for example, if I ship more frequently to a specific zone, maybe I should get a better discount. So I have a way to negotiate with the carrier, right? So Varsity provides shipping data analysis tools, by the way, that can be used for this purpose. And all the shipping data is on the IBMI available for analysis. So I think that is a huge advantage of having the data on the IBMI. And at the end, you get better contracts. You have the power of negotiation because you have the power of information. You have all the data available for you that is there. You can present it to your carriers, and it's not generic talk. It's very specific data-based, arguments or negotiations, basically.
Yeah, I feel like that's so key because even in 2025, there are still so many single carrier shipping strategies out there. And I feel like one of the number one things I hear is, well, we don't want to lose our contracted rates, and we're nervous about that. But in fact, if you do diversify and add more carriers, multiple different types, and you use this as a negotiating tactic, and then you rate shop, you're often seeing an ROI, and you could be saving more money even without those. Yeah. So
and also the volume analysis, right? That's very important. So if you have a lot of volume in one zone or in one state or in one geographical area, then you can tell the carrier, hey, look, well, I'm shipping a huge amount of shipments to that geographical area, the zone and stuff. So then you can start the negotiation based on that, right? Based on volume analysis, shipping volume analysis. And you couldn't do that if you don't keep the data available and ready to be queried and analyzed, basically.
Exactly. All right. Thank you, Roberto. Question number 3. Let's see. This one I'll go to Charlie. If we leave the IBMI, could we still use Varsity?
Great question. So the answer is yes. We would need to know more specifics, but we have a lot of customers that use us cross-platform. So if sadly someone is going to a cloud-based off-platform, off the eye system, we've had a lot of customers that were so reliant and so impressed with Varsity. We have pre-written cross-platform integrations to a lot of things. Other people have decided to run us in the cloud, and then from there integrate to other systems. So the answer is yes. You can keep using Varsity.
Beautiful. All right. Next one. If we change ERP systems on IBMI next year, how much of the shipping logic would we have to rebuild?
Sure. So you wouldn't need to rebuild really anything except some of the integration. So we would just point your new ERP to Varsity. We pass data, as Roberto's gotten into, via parameters list. And so it's really very simple. I mean, the logic can all stay. The only thing that's changing is, the ERP that we're interfaced to. So that's very, very straightforward. Nothing along the lines of, a new installation, nothing at all like that.
Sounds easy enough. All right. I think this is the last one I'm seeing, but I could be wrong. We ship hazmat occasionally. Is the compliance check for hazmat fully integrated into the rating process, or is that a separate step? I don't know if either one of you want to touch on that.
I can answer that. So hazmat shipping is fully integrated into the rating process and into the shipping process. So where the hazmat shipping is specific to the carrier, and we have what we call carrier compliance kit. And if a customer ships hazmat materials, the specific carrier compliance kit will include all the hazmat compliance that goes from the label to the rating to the special manifest to the special transmission. The shipper will need to have some kind of training with the carrier, but system wise, they will be all set with Varsity because that is automatic. The interface will have to be enhanced to pass all the hazmat item information into Varsity. And once it does that, based on the order and the packages shipped, then hazmat labels will be printed out automatically. Special labels through exit points can also be printed. Warning signs can be visibly displayed on the screen. So you cannot combine two different hazmat materials. You cannot pack them together or ship them in the same box, and so on and so forth. So there is a base compliance, which is the base compliance with the carrier that goes, again, like I said, labels, rating, and manifest transmission. And also there is an opportunity for all that custom logic that varies by customer and varies by what you ship, and that would include special labels or warning messages to the packer or to the shipper.
Excellent. All right. It looks like one did pop in like last minute that I see. Since you mentioned boxes too, this makes sense. So if we use the automated or automatic packing optimizer, does our team still have final say if a box seems too full?
Absolutely. So the packing optimizer can be used either as an imposed way to do the packing. So you just do what the ship optimizer tells you. There's no other ways to do it, but that's very rare. Ship optimizer implementations always allow for override, and there are always suggestions, right? So the user will look at the packing configuration the ship optimizer put together, and we'll use that as a suggestion. You can follow it or deviate from it. If you change things around, though, the freight that was estimated upstream when Ship Optimizer ran and determined the carrier service type and rate based on that configuration. And in the warehouse, if you're doing something different, then you might cause a difference in freight, but the user has the final saying. I would say that in our optimizer implementations, 98% of the recommendations are usually accurate. The remaining 2% can be overridden. And yes, the packer might cause a little bit of a higher freight, but what happens is that in that 2% of instances, even if the freight is a little bit higher, usually shippers are charged discounted rates, and they charge for prepay and ad shipments. They charge published rates, at least, right? So the shipping department becomes a little bit of a revenue department. And so that 2% of cases that will cause a different type of repacking and maybe a slightly higher freight, the slightly higher freight is compensated by the fact that in general, the shipper gets charged discounted rates, but bills published rates. So at the end, the shipping department remains a revenue department, and 98% of the times, let's say, the optimizer will suggest the right packing configuration. And again, most of the cases, you can override it if you want, but it can be configured to just where the warehouse will need an override or will need a little bit more involved workarounds to override what the Ship Optimizer suggested. But again, that is unusual. Usually you can override it. Yes.
All right. Thank you, Roberto. So we are nearing the end. I want to be respectful of everyone's time. If I missed your question or if we didn't get to it, we will make sure to follow up with you so you get an answer. Also, another bit of housekeeping, everyone will receive the recording. So you will receive that soon, as soon as it's done being optimized and whatever prepackaged, whatever video language there is for that. And so you will get that. You will get the slides. You will get some additional resources. Our speakers and panelists, their contact information is on the screen. Feel free to reach out to them directly if you do have a question as well that you just think of later. So I think that's all the housekeeping I have. Thank you so much for joining us. We hope you walk away with an understanding of, how you can actually modernize your supply chain and your shipping on a platform that you trust. So thank you all and have an awesome rest of your day.
Thank you. Take care.
Thank you, Taylor. Thank you.